everybody. It's Dr. Sarah Gordon. Welcome to the PhD Journey Unplugged podcast. I am super excited to have Adina O'Neill back on the show. Welcome,
Hey,
Adina.
hi, Sarah. Thanks for having me back.
Oh my gosh, I'm really excited for this conversation. If you're picking up this podcast for the first time, let me just give you a brief recap before we kind of dive into our conversation. So, Adina was on episode 71. And it was in early July. And we titled that conversation Forward is a Pace. And I'll tell you why I'm even mentioning that. And we talked about something that you had planned for later in July. And I highly recommend to our listeners to go back and listen to it so you hear Adina's journey. Okay. Adina is the founder of Team Be Real. She's up in the Massachusetts area. She's a well-known, well-respected, I would say expert open water swimmer.
Thank you.
Oh, I just got goosebumps when I said that. It's true though. I mean, not to embarrass you, but you're a bit of a celebrity, and we'll talk about that, so anyhow,
Trying to get
if
used to that idea. Trying to get used to the idea.
So if you want to go back and listen to episode 71, maybe even pause it right now, go listen and start to hear about this journey to this goal that Adina set for herself that happened on it was July. What day was it in July? The
July 20th.
July 20th. So so here we are. I had asked Adina, I was super excited she would come on the show in the first place to talk about this goal and to learn from her as a coach in the endurance multi-sport world and from open water swimming, which we both share a passion for.
Yep.
So, thank you for that coming on then. And I had this idea like, let come back on afterwards.
hmm
Let's talk about what you did. So I'm just going to say briefly what it was, and then we're going to dive into it, and I'm going to ask you all kinds of questions about it. First, I want to say congratulations.
Thank you.
Adina swam backstroke 8 miles across the Boston Harbor, and she did it in reverse fashion to how it's traditionally done. Adina just got goosebumps again. This is because it's such a big moment. She's the first person to have ever done that. She made history. You made history. And so, episode 71, we called Forward is a Pace. And with your permission, I would like to call episode 78 Backwards is a Pace.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks.
So, I don't even know where to start. Why don't we do this, okay? Let's just start with leading up to it.
So, it's something that obviously, if you go back and listen to the other episode, you get kind of the backstory of where it came from and why we did it, why I did it, and all that other stuff. The training was a little non-traditional because there's not a lot of open water backstrokers. There are some, and I did connect with a couple. Jess Curis, notably, who has swam the English Channel. I believe she's the record holder for the time for backstroke. She was a great resource, and a couple other people who I just met along the way as I was talking about, like, I'm a backstroker, I'm a backstroker. And it was really neat because it's unusual. So
It's unusual.
I got a couple of ideas from Jess, but she and I are very different swimmers. She is a fast swimmer. I am not a fast swimmer. And so our approaches were a little different. And our reasoning for doing it was a little different as well. So obviously everybody's goal is very individual to themselves. I swim most of my training at Nantasket Beach here in just south of Boston in Hull, and we had a ton of jellyfish this year. So it's frustrating to swim with jellyfish. They're lion's mane. They do sting, And if you get, they're not the kind that are instantaneously dangerous, but if you do get repeatedly stung over and over, it can be dangerous. So it's definitely something to be aware of. And so I avoided the ocean for a while. I swam and I did a lot of my long swims in the lakes, and it was just weird, kind of building up to it and then getting back in the ocean, and dealing with it. It's different to swim in the ocean versus a lake. That's a whole nother podcast, so we won't go there.
Okay.
Um,
Let's do it. Let's do it though.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Our water
Um,
series.
and so for me, kind of the biggest thing was I had last year I had done the Nantasket is 3 miles long. So if you do a lap there and back, it's a 10K swim. And last year I had done that. And so I set off on my training this year. I got a coach. I worked with Amy Enian to help build me a plan. So that way it was not me telling me what to do, that little outside. I mean, I'm a coach and I respect the idea of having a coach. And Amy was a great fit for me. Go find her, go follow her. She's awesome. And so we had this plan, and I'm training and I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm going through and following the plan and feeling good about gaining a little speed back, because that was part of the training. You got to gain your speed to sustain these longer distances as well. And by the time I went and did my lap this year, I was so defeated because it was so hard. And the exact same place that I struggled last year when I did the lap, that 10K, was the same place that I struggled. So after about 5 miles, that last mile was just so hard. And obviously, I mean, conditions in open water always play a huge factor.
Mhm.
And we know, like at Nantasket, you go down and back. So one way, you're probably going to either be swimming into waves or wind or current. And that last mile, it was just both coming back after. I literally that day stood up and I said, I just spent the last 6 to 9 months training and walked out of the ocean feeling the same way I did last year when I tried this. And it was disheartening. I had a moment where I was just like, this sucks. Like it was a really tough feeling to sit with. And if you talk to any endurance athlete, we've all faced it at different times.
Mhm.
And that for me it was a really hard day because I had these expectations that, I did all this training and I worked on my form and I got a consult and I got a coach. I'm like, I did all the things. And here I am. I was so excited. I got to this lap and I felt that last mile, I felt equally tired. And like in my mind, I said, maybe I can only swim 5 miles, right? Like, because that's what it felt like to me. And
Can I say
I
one
think,
thing, Adina?
yes,
It's like I kind of know how the story ends,
yeah,
and I'm like, I just think this so I think this is I just want to point this out. This is so important because we all have these I was just a guest on another podcast, and I talked about we all have these moments where we just feel like quitting,
yeah,
or it just doesn't go, like we just don't have the flow. It just
yeah,
doesn't go the way we plan it to go or we want it to go. So
yeah.
what got you through it?
Well,
Why
a
didn't you
lot
give
of
up?
different tools. Every good endurance athlete needs a big toolbox
Okay.
because you never know what thing is going to cause you to feel that way.
Yeah, it's
You
true.
start out with everyone talks about the rule of thirds, like a third of the time you're going to feel crappy, a third of the time you're going to feel good, and a third of the time is going to be like okay, right?
Right.
And so I was like, all right, this was part of that. It's
Hmm.
that actually helps, just recognizing that all endurance athletes experience this, right? And to know that it is normal to feel that way. And I started thinking back to some of the other big swims, like my first 10-mile swim, my big swim that led up to that. The conditions were not great that day, and I had a really bad swim. I did in that case have the opportunity to go back and do another, not as long swim, but like a medium swim that kind of pumped my morale up a little bit. So I thought back to that experience, right? Your own personal experience is a good motivator. Just say, okay, well, I've dealt with hard things before.
That's such a
And
good point. Wait, I just want to, one second. That's such a good point. Because you dealt with hard
yeah,
things before. You know you can get through hard things again. You can use
yeah,
visualization and imagery.
yep, yep. And the hard things come in different spurts. If you never
Good.
do the hard things, you don't know how good the good things are.
Hmm.
Right. So you need them. And I do most of my training, outdoor training at that ocean, at that beach. So I've had a lot of ups and downs. And there have been
Hmm.
days that I've come out of that particular ocean. Some days it's flat, some days it's a washing machine. Some days you have these beautiful swells that just kind of pick you up and lift you down. Some days you have waves that roll you over if you don't get through them the right way. Like that's the fun. And as
Right.
an open water swimmer, that's why we keep getting back in the ocean
Right.
because you never know what you're going to get.
Hmm.
And you have to constantly remind yourself that I'm controlling my what I can control. I followed the plan. I went back. I looked at the responses from Amy and her email that says, "You've done all the work. You're so ready. Take your rest. Let your body rest. Believe in it." One of my friends who was there the Saturday before the swim, I just went for my regular, last kind of shakeout swim. Nobody calls it that, but people understand what that means. But they call it a shakeout run, but I don't know.
I like
I've
that. A
never
shakeout
called it.
swim.
Yeah, I've never called it a shakeout swim before,
It's
but that
okay.
it came
On
out.
episode
Um,
78, new
I don't know.
term by Adina O'Neill, the shakeout swim.
Maybe people do call it a shakeout swim. I don't know. Just to kind of keep your body going, right?
Yeah.
And a friend of mine was there, and he looked at me and he said, "Oh," he said, "Well, Adina," he's like, the Boston Light is he's like the if you can do the Nantasket lap, you can do the Boston Light." And I've heard so many people say that. And because so the Nantasket lap is 6 miles, the Boston Light is 8, but
Did,
the Boston Light you get a current.
one quick
So
question.
yeah,
Did you ever in your training, I know you said you've done 10-mile swims, but leading up to this day, did you do the 8 miles
no,
in training? Because I've heard that like with marathon training too, like if you can get to 23 miles, you can do 26.2
right,
miles. So
right.
that's interesting I'd like to understand that physiologically
Yes.
too in the
Well,
body, but
actually,
and
it
mentally.
the physiologically the number for a marathon. Side note: land marathon is 16 miles, not 23.
Wait, say that again.
For a land marathon, most people train up to 20, 22, 23, but physiologically, if you trust the process, 16 miles is what you need.
Oh,
And, and
that's
I
interesting.
Yeah. And I actually, when I did my standalone marathon, I got injured. So I did 16 miles of running plus an hour of cycling.
So
So
train up to
there's
16.
another, that's another
Okay.
story.
Okay,
But,
so
but,
let's
but, but the concept is you
yeah, let's
don't
get
have
back
to do the entire thing to be able to do the
to
entire
do
thing.
the goal. Okay, that's
You're
interesting.
building, you're building up, and this is endurance sports across the board, right? Your
Mhm.
body is building cumulative strength and endurance through all of your training as you load
Interesting.
it on in a strategic fashion. And there, you want to have a certain amount of volume within a week. And then some, and you do want some long distances. And our approach was to also to build it up to be able. So I did the 8 miles over a 2 day period. So you kind of trick your mind
Right.
into believing it was one day, which I don't know. I think my mind is smarter than that, but okay. That's the theory, right? You trick
Okay.
yourself. And it's I mean it's a concept that I use with all of my athletes. You know,
Okay.
they're the cumulative effect
I like that actually.
is how you, and I can't explain the science, but that it's a very well known approach to endurance training. It's the volume over time and the build. So
Huh.
it's
Well,
pretty standard. So
so let me
I,
ask you this.
yep,
So you, so 2 days before, so your coach said, okay, you did a a relaxing the weekend before.
Yep.
Then you rested. How many days did you actually rest? Like no activity, or did you not? Like how leading up to the Monday, July 20th, Monday, July
So
20th,
I swam the Sunday before.
the day
So
before,
I swam, sorry, the Saturday before.
2 days before. Okay.
So I swam Saturday, but my last long swim was 2 weeks before.
Okay.
And then I
Now,
did a medium swim like the weekend before, and then that last Saturday. So
okay.
2 weeks out was my last big swim. 1 week out was a medium swim, and then that last week were shorter swims to let your body rest. Yeah, so
So,
short, easy swims.
so the reason I kind of wanted to start there because have you ever seen the graphic? I've seen it on social media, I've seen it in school. You see the iceberg and you see just the top of the iceberg, but you don't
Yeah,
see, or it's like a pyramid, but you don't see everything underneath the
right,
water.
right.
Okay. Everything underneath, and I'm going to tell you why I'm saying it this way. Because everything underneath the water is preparation. It's hard work. It's discipline. It's feeling defeated. It's feeling exhausted. It's questioning yourself. It's all those things that go into game day
Yeah.
preparation when you show up. So, Adina, on July 20th, you had a group, a WhatsApp
Oh yeah. Yeah.
group, which
Yes.
I was very fortunate to be a part of. And let me just tell you, when you swam, because I saw video footage, all that work underneath, the iceberg, it was it was beautiful. You made it look effortless. Effortless. And that's the key with we see people such as Adina when they show up on game day and they make something look effortless. It's not. They have worked
Not.
their you know what off to get
Yeah.
to that day.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful thing to see. So I wanted to first say that and congratulate you on all that hard work. It makes I'm emotional about it because I understand I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now so let's start with Monday morning. What time you
Before
got
you
there?
before you go
And
to Monday,
go
I want
ahead.
to make a comment about all the when you're talking about the iceberg and all the things
Yeah,
underneath, and
absolutely.
talking about like the hard days and the mental,
Yeah.
like, the thing that I always tell my athletes, and there's a weird thing about being a coach is you end up kind of coaching yourself at the same time, but
Mhm.
it's not always reliable. It's very hard to coach yourself, and I'm fortunate enough that my athletes who I coach, who are on my team, if I would share something that was hard, they would like parrot back all the things that I've said to them, which was really cool. They're like, oh, so they were like, "Oh, we're getting to coach you now," which was kind of fun.
Wait, can I say one funny thing about that? Okay, so I was running a half marathon with my son years ago, and I'm always like, carpe diem, seize the day, and never give up, and blah blah blah. So we're out there, and my run is just going terrible, and he's like hanging with me, and he's saying all these things to me that I've said to him over the years. And I looked,
Yep.
I said, just be quiet. I don't want to hear it.
It's a weird feeling. It's
It's
sometimes
a
it's hard
weird
to
feeling. I'm like,
accept back, but then you're like, all right, they're listening, they're getting
I don't
it,
want to hear anything I've told you.
Yeah.
I'm miserable. Leave me
But
alone.
the
All right, go ahead.
the point that I wanted to make is that all of those hardships, roadblocks, challenges that you
Yeah.
face along the way
Hmm.
are building the mental resiliency that you
Yeah.
need for that event. Because when
True.
you show up on race day or event day for
Hmm.
whatever, and it doesn't even have to be every time you show up, it's your own power from within yourself, your own mental strength that is
Yeah.
getting you to do it. Like your body is going to do what your brain tells it to do. So
So
you have to
true.
be in charge of that brain. And when you're swimming for 5.5 hours by yourself, no one's doing the swimming but you, and it is in your brain. Like, so you need those mental hardships along the way to build the mental strength to get there.
It's true. It's a good point. I'm
And
glad.
you're never going to see any of that. Like the iceberg image is
Yeah.
so perfect because you never see any of that. And there were some things going on in my head that were not so pretty. So, like, it happens. It happens. So, yeah.
I'm so
So,
proud of
okay,
you.
you were
I'm
going to
so
say,
proud of you. And I feel so grateful to be one of the people that you're talking about it with. Really.
yeah, oh, I am a firm believer that it is so important to share your story. Um,
Yeah,
whatever your story, we have a society that puts a hierarchy on what stories are more important, what achievements are more valuable, and I call bullshit to all of that. Oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
sure.
Uh, okay, well,
It's
so
my show. We can do whatever we want. Just
all right.
kidding. It's not
Well,
really that
I
offensive. It's okay.
I call bullshit to all of that. Like, just who decided that, and why do we have to
Yeah.
follow that? Right? It's up to us to decide what's important to us and be excited about it.
Hmm.
And if someone asks me about my swim, I'm not going to make it small. It's a big thing. Like,
It was a
and
big
it's
thing.
weird because we're always told, "Oh, don't brag." Being proud is not bragging. I am really proud of doing what I did. And I looked at myself in the mirror like the day after and literally said, "You're literally the only person in the world who has ever done that." Like,
I
that is weird and
know.
wild and powerful to say to yourself and to even say out loud. And, like, someone says, "Oh, you're a legend." And I was like, come on. And I looked it up and I looked at the definition and I was like, I guess I kind of am, like, like, it was weird as, but at
And
the same,
you inspire, it's so beyond you because like I was part of that group and everybody was just, it was like the best of humanity, like cheering you on and
yeah,
so much. You inspired. I think, I think that day I went out for like a long run. I was like, if Adina's doing something, I got to do something.
yeah, yeah.
But it was
Well,
very
and the group,
inspiring. But so,
yeah.
okay, let me ask you this question before we actually start with the morning of and then the actual swim. I have so many questions for you, and I don't want to wear you out with it. Um, and I just lost tell everybody what you actually did. I know we talked
So,
about it in episode 71, but tell them
yes.
again here as we talk about it.
So there is a very well-known swim called the Boston Light Swim. It is the oldest marathon swim in the United States. It started in 1907. I've got my Boston Marathon, not Boston Light Swim. I think I just called it the Boston Marathon. Boston Light Swim started in 1907. There were a few years for different reasons that it didn't happen, but it is the oldest marathon swim in the United States. Marathon swim being 10K or longer. The marathon in the Olympics is a 10K. Technically, if you do anything longer, it's an ultra swim, but we all kind of call them marathon swimming's ultra swim.
Okay.
The race, which actually just happened on Tuesday, it is a race. And a whole bunch of people get on boats and they start at the lighthouse. They swim into South Boston through Boston Harbor, and the islands are the buoys. Right? Usually in a swim race or triathlon race, you've got buoys so you can sight where you're going.
And they're
We've got
swimming
islands.
freestyle. They're swimming freestyle.
Yes. Generally people swim in the crawl because technically freestyle is any stroke you want, but
Okay, the crawl.
the crawl, we call it
Okay,
freestyle, but it is
but it's the
the
crawl.
freestyle
Okay.
crawl. Sometimes you'll hear it that way as well. um, so as you're because it's the most effective and the fastest stroke. So
Okay.
that's why it takes the least energy. That's why it's the most efficient. And it's the fastest. So you look at times, freestyle is the fastest, and then butterfly, and then backstroke, and then breaststroke. And there's a lot of benefits to swimming freestyle in the open water. You're able to see where you're going, for example.
Yeah, I want to ask you
And
about
it
that.
is,
Go
yes.
ahead.
But the efficiency and the speed is the reason why it's usually chosen. And so typically they have all these boats. You've got 5.5 hours to do it. It is a strict cutoff because it's Boston Harbor and there
Right.
are active like boats and ferries and stuff going on. So they can't they have a permit for that amount of time. And so you have to follow those rules. As a slower swimmer myself, I don't know that I would be able to complete it in 5.5 hours. And so I did not want to be pulled and because I ran out of time. And if you start at the lighthouse and go into Boston, there is a section that's very tricky around Thompson's Island. There's an eddy, so it's kind of like swirling water. And when I did the Boston Light Swim as a relay, I swam through the eddy. Well, I shouldn't say swam through. It's like being in an endless pool. I have videos of my husband has a video of me. It looks like I'm going nowhere because
Okay.
it's the way the water swirls. So that's another challenge of the swim. So typically, if people are not doing the race, they do what's called a reverse Boston Light, which means you start at South Boston on the beach and you swim out to the lighthouse.
Okay.
It tends to be a little easier. We time it, they time it, help you time it to the current. So that way you've got a current assisting. You do have a current assist going the other way as well. But in generally, they say it's a little easier. You don't have that eddy to deal with. And for me personally, is like I didn't have the stress of a time cutoff. I didn't have all the, added stress of being part of an event and having all of that outside kind of noise, pressure, whatever it might be for other people. It was just me and my crew, and I got to swim.
Can you explain about your crew?
Yes. So, a marathon swim, you typically, for it to be ratified, which is the word they use to make it official, you have to be connected with a certain open water body, governing body. And for me, it was Massachusetts Open Water Swim Association, or MAUSA is what they're known as. That's their little acronym, MAUSA, Mass Open Water Swim. So I contacted them with my idea, and I signed up to do the swim, it's a solo swim with them, and they lay out all the rules. They provide an observer, so that's one person who is on the crew, and the observer is from the governing body. Their job is to make sure the rules are followed, and they take notes throughout the swim. So that way they can document it and they will send it off to be ratified. And this is the first time I've done a solo swim, so I'm not even sure how long that process takes, and when it will be actually ratified. I know there are a lot of solo swims happening right now, so I don't know if they wait till the end of the year. More to come on that. I'm still learning myself.
Okay.
Um,
But there was a
so
boat.
there,
There was a
yeah.
boat, and there was a
So then
boat.
there's a boat in Boston Harbor. You are required to have a motorboat. Um,
Okay.
it is possible to do other swims with a kayak, depending on where you're doing the swim, and it can be ratified. In our case, we had to have a motorboat. So I grabbed my friend Timmy, who was the pilot when I did the relay. And so he had his boat. We had the observer from Malza, and I do have to give a shout out. Her name is Kelly, Kelly Latimer, who she is a amazing swimmer herself. I met her during the pandemic, and she kind of became my open water and cold water mentor swim, because she loves the water. And so I requested to have her as my observer so that way she could be on the boat. And it was really special to have her there. It's nice to have people you have a connection with on the boat because they're your only kind of lifeline. And if you have a moment, you want the people on the boat who are reliable and who know you. So that way they're gonna know how to support you. So Kelly was the observer. We had Timmy, who already took care of me, so I had confidence that he was going to protect me. I mean, the job of the pilot in Boston Harbor is really important because there's lots of boats.
Mhm.
And my husband explained to me, so my husband was on the boat, Mark. I'll tell his job in a minute, but he explained to me that he's like Timmy is meticulous to protect the swimmer. There's boats coming from different directions. They're on the radio talking to them and making sure that they know that I'm out there, because I'm close to the
That-
boat.
That's
But
amazing. I didn't realize you were out there with activity going on in the harbor.
yep,
Like
yeah,
the event, they close it down. But as
no,
a solo swimmer,
they don't close it. There are still boats during the harbor, but they just have a permit to have all those extra
oh,
boats.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. They don't actually.
But for
Yeah,
you, we're
I'm one
swimming.
boat.
One boat and swimming through
Yeah,
rush
yeah.
hour.
Yep. So pilot, observer, and then you have your personal crew, and you decide who that is. So for me, I had my husband Mark and my friend Irina. And Mark's main job was to guide me. So we mentioned before how hard it is to see where you're going when you're doing backstroke. And this was actually something that we learned on the day of the swim was how intensive it was for him to guide me. He spent the entire time on the bow of the boat guiding me because
Wow.
I could not, I mean, I couldn't see where I was going, obviously. And when I swim by myself, I often use the sun to help give me an idea where I am or like landmarks and things like that. But we're in the middle of the ocean. The sun was rising, so I couldn't really use the sun to help me. The sky was blue. I couldn't see anything. I did a couple of times. Once we kind of got settled, I could see Boston above my feet. So in some of the videos, you can see I'm like looking up because I can see Boston out the other way, and I was using that. But it's so tricky to know where you're going. And when you're swimming freestyle, the boat's right there, and you can tell how far you are from the boat. I couldn't really tell how far I was
Right.
from the boat. So I
Wow.
relied on my husband, who was just absolutely, he was a rock. He's always my rock. And he was that day too. He's out in the front of the boat, just guiding me back and forth. And it was perfect. He didn't also, it was his first experience crewing for a swim, and he knocked it out of the park. So I couldn't be more grateful. And of course, it was really nice to, the sun's rising, and my favorite person in the world is up there on the boat, and I see them like sitting there watching me with the sun rising behind
Oh,
him. It's a really beautiful image that I kept for myself.
that's
Uh,
amazing. That's
yeah.
amazing. Something that you probably you couldn't plan for something like that. That's
Nope.
the magic.
Nope.
That's the magic in the moment.
That's right. That's right. And
Okay,
then the
so
last person was, oh, we got to mention Irina because she's
go
important.
ahead, go ahead.
So Irina was she also was there to be the crew. And between her special job was to be a support swimmer and a safety swimmer. So there are rules about you can have a support swimmer, and that's just someone who comes and keeps you company in the water for a little while. And there are rules for how long they can be in and how long they have to stay out before they come back in. But she was also a safety swimmer because as we left the beach to get to the boat, I mean, I can't see where the boat is behind me. So she was allowed to help guide me to the boat for my safety. And then when we got to the lighthouse, the same thing. She helped guided me in because I couldn't see where we're going to get to the lighthouse as well. So she was that safety swimmer in those cases. And in the middle of the course, there are old stanchions from a bridge. And again, I wanted her to be in the water with me then, so that way, make sure I didn't, run into a big old stanchion because I couldn't see it. And then together, Mark and Irina were in charge of maintaining my feeding schedule, which is what we call it, the feeds.
I was just going to ask you about
Um,
that. Like while we're talking about like kind of logistics, and then I want to move on
yeah,
to like the emotional part of it all. But what did that look like? What did you wear? Well, what's your nutrition and hydration? Because you were in the water for five and a
almost
half,
5 hours, almost
almost
five
5 hours.
Yeah.
I think you did it faster than you were anticipating.
I did, and that's largely due to the conditions. We had the most amazing conditions.
Everything just aligned, really.
There
The
was
hard work,
it did.
environment,
And you
weather.
mentioned that WhatsApp chat. Someone I went back and read all the comments, and someone said, "Look how much the ocean loves you." And
It was a lot of
I'm
love.
going to hold on to that for the rest of my life because I really did feel like the ocean loved me. And my biggest concern was the one thing that was out of my control was the weather,
Yeah.
um, because I've been in Boston Harbor when the wind creates so much swell and chop that it negates the current. And from my training, I knew that it would be very hard. I was not sure if I would have enough in me to swim those 8 miles into the wind. Like if I had into the wind and chop, I don't know how far I would have gotten.
Yeah, everything
Um,
really, it was just, it was perfect.
yeah,
Your
yeah.
swim, it
It
was
was
just a great.
11 out of 10 conditions, Kelly called it. 11 out of
So, okay,
10.
what did it look like in terms of your equipment
Okay,
and your
so
nutrition and hydration?
marathon swimming rules say, and this is for like
Mhm.
English Channel, all the anything, the official rules. One swimsuit, no neoprene, so no wetsuits at all, no swimsuits that provide buoyancy or warmth. One swim cap, one pair of goggles. That's
Wow,
it.
that's it.
That's all you have. You're not allowed to wear your watch. You're not allowed to wear anything that can give you any type of advantage for warmth or buoyancy. Or and the watch they decide. My understanding is navigation, because you can now use your watches to help you navigate. And even they believe that you get an advantage of, if every 500 I'm getting my pace, they believe that that's an advantage. Like you
Hmm,
can use your watch to pace yourself as well. So
interesting.
no technology, no watches. And then everything I'm not allowed to touch the boat. I'm not allowed to touch any of the support swimmer if they're in the water. I'm not allowed to get assistance from anyone or anything. It has to be on my own power.
So how did you get the nutrition and hydration over to you?
That is a sort of loophole, I guess.
Okay.
They throw it out to you. I'm allowed to
They,
touch my water bottle.
they
So
throw it out to you if you miss it.
yes, so it's on a rope.
Okay.
So my water bottle. So I always have my water bottle. Always has my little bracelets on it. So I attached carabiners to the bracelets, and then tied the carabiners to the rope. So I had a water bottle with. I used Tailwind, high carb. Their high carb formula, which is like I think it's
Yeah.
like 90 carbs in a bottle. It's like superpower. And I had a couple of gels. I let mix it up a little bit, but I always had so they would throw the rope out to me. There was a bottle of Tailwind, a bottle of water, and then I had a little cup so that way they could send out my gels. I forgot to put my earplugs in, so they sent the earplugs out in the cup with one of the feedings. Yeah, and then they just throw it out to me. I stop, tread some water, do my drinking, chat. They check in. How you doing? How you feeling? Where am I at? All
How did
kinds of
you know?
questions.
How do you know when you need, is it just you have it on a schedule, time? Like, how do you
Yeah,
know when to do
yeah,
nutrition, hydration?
yep.
You had it
I
planned?
do. Yeah, yeah. My plan is the first feed is at 1 hour, and then every 30 minutes.
Wow.
Pretty typical. It's pretty standard. A lot of that's a standard 30 minutes. Some people will do 40, some will do 20. It all depends on what your stomach can handle, how much you can take in. Because some people can't take, like, if you can't take in enough nutrition, you might have to feed more frequently.
Okay. So what we just talked all about was planning, preparation, training, performance, logistics. We don't do these things alone, community,
Yeah.
support. Okay. I want to switch the conversation to the emotions. What did you feel standing on the beach? Um, you started at the harbor and went to the lighthouse. Okay.
Yep.
What time did you start? What did you feel before you started? And then walk us as much as you can in your mind. Remember like what it felt like to be you
Mm.
swimming backstroke across that harbor to that finish line. The emotional part
So
of the journey.
yeah, the cool thing was, so we took the boat. We met at Timmy's dock, and we rowed the boat into Boston Harbor, into the beach. So Irina and I jumped off and got to swim to the beach first.
Okay.
And that was kind of fun because we were just like, there was no pressure, right? It was
Right.
just like, yeah, let's just go jump off and swim to the beach. And it gave me a couple hundred yards just to regulate my
Right.
breath and just I just jumped off a boat swimming with Irina. It's just another day, right?
Right.
At the beach was a good friend of mine named Red, who also is a publisher. She's the publisher of she published my book at Belmont City Press. And Red met us there. She was there at 5:30 with her Knox gear on so we could see her. And if you are going to be at a beach at 5:25 and have 5 minutes, like that's the longest 5 minutes of your life. So the start time, we were suggested to start at 5:30. And the start time is significant because it's timed with the tides. And I want to get the best benefit from the tides to have the best swim. And so by the time we got there and I got all ready and we got in the boat and got to the beach, it was like 5:25. And Kelly's like, I'd wait till 5:30. It can be the longest 5 minutes of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you have a friend like Red sitting next to you, cracking jokes. I don't know what we were talking about, but if we were just hanging out, having fun, she's making fun of things, just cracking jokes. I don't remember what we were talking about. And then before you know it, it's 5:30, and it was like, off we go. And it was nice to have the friendship part takes away the stress for me.
Yeah.
And one thing that I
Connection.
learned that helps me whenever I do these big things is I was just like, just going for a swim.
Just
You
going for a
just have to
swim.
bring it back to that. You look at, if I looked out over the ocean, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even see the lighthouse, and it's just like, I'm just going for a swim.
Just
I'm
going
just
for a
going for it. And I did that my first 10 mile. I looked over this ginormous lake. I was like, oh, just going for a swim. Right. And it's just like, that's that for me. So that is something that over time I know works for me.
Okay.
Just going for a swim, jumped in the boat with Irina, chatting with Red. Like it just made it like an everyday occurrence.
Okay.
Even though it's this ginormous thing. So I got in, and of course I am a rule follower through and through. And there are no specific rules about backstroke, but in my mind, I created the idea that and I don't know if I got this somewhere, if I made it up, so I'm not 100% sure. But in my mind, I'm like, well, if I'm doing backstroke, I need to walk backwards into the water and backwards out. Like that. I was like, it's backstroke. I can't go forward. Like
I
that
love
was really
that.
important to me.
That's
And
amazing.
I did that for my like qualifier swim. I'm like coming out of the water, and I was being a dork because that's what I am. I'm coming out of the water, I'm like woo woo woo, and everyone's like, it's okay, you can walk forward. I'm like, no, I can't. So I walked backwards into the water and started swimming. And the first hour was a lot of navigation. So in my mind, there was concentration, like tons of concentration, getting used to sighting off the boat, watching Mark, knowing where I was going. I didn't realize, no, I've been to that beach a million times. I know there is, like, they call it, it's like a mooring field. There's a whole bunch of moorings with boats. I did not even think about that. And in hindsight, it probably would have been smart for us to have Irina stay with me to get through all the moorings. But Mark is up there. He's like, go this way, go that way. I'm like, why are we doing all of these like twists and turns? Like, there's a little confusion. It's like, what is going on? And that's kind of a theme. It's like, you just don't know what's behind you, which is what's in front of you. And we're going backwards. I'm like, what's going on? Until I like bumped one of the boats. I was like, oh, there's a boat there. I bumped the buoy. I bumped a buoy. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. So then I was like, I was doing a lot of like looking behind me, like I'm looking for a wall. And at first hour, there was just concentration, just trying to figure it out and find my rhythm and my flow, which is typical. Like you always have like a warm up period, but the concentration factor on the boat and on the moorings, like I think it really took a lot out of me that I didn't expect. Again, like so much mental, but
Mental.
not used to that much mental that
That
early
that
on.
much mental.
So I got to the first feed, and the first feed was right around that island that has the eddy that I mentioned earlier.
Hmm.
And I was like, I looked up, I was like, is that Thompson's? That's the island. And I know that well. And Kelly says, yup. And I was like, fucker. Because it's like, I remember it's like, I'm not dealing with you today,
I'm
right?
not getting sucked in over there.
And it was kind of nice. I was like, yeah, I'm just cruising right by you. So I had a little moment with the island. And Kelly actually, she goes, Swimmer had a few choice words for the island. So it was fun that she, included that in like the official report. And then the next half hour, so that was the first feed, everything was great. And the next half hour was the hardest half hour for me of the whole swim. I
Interesting.
think
What
because,
mile was that, do you think?
so this was 2 miles in,
2 miles in was the
two
hardest.
miles in. I think because I used so much mental energy navigating and concentrating. And I sat there. The first thought that I had after I had my feed, the feed was fine. I started going, swimming again. And I was like, I have to do this for 4 more hours, 5 more hours. Like I didn't
Right.
know, like at the time. And I knew that it took an hour to get there. I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. Like I have an idea in my head of what that meant. But I was just like, I might have 4 more hours of this. And actually I didn't put that together until we're having this conversation that the mental concentration from the first hour, I think that's what I in my mind I was like, how can I concentrate this hard for the next 4 hours? And then I think that's what it was, because usually that was an odd time for me to feel like, oh my gosh, this is going to take forever.
So how did you switch it?
I'm going to swear again,
Go
because this
for
is
it.
what
It's
happened.
fine. This is unplugged.
So, so
Our audience
oh,
respects you,
that's
and we
that's a
want to
good
know.
thing.
We want to
Yeah,
hear.
just warning. So I have a very good friend who is also a triathlon coach, and has been a huge support for me on many levels. Her name is Jen Giesber. And one day, not this day, obviously, but one day we were having some conversation, and I was feeling kind of nervous about things and questioning myself, doubting, as we all do. And she says to me, look, here's the only thing you have to remember. She's like, you're Adina fucking O'Neill. So like, just go out there and do it. And I was like, okay. And for some reason that sat with me. And at that time, that's what popped into my head.
I
And
love it. I love it. I'm
the,
Adina fucking O'Neill.
for the next 30 minutes, that was my cadence. That was my mantra. It was literally 30 minutes of me telling myself, I'm Adina fucking O'Neill. I'm Adina for 30 minutes.
I'm
Because
so
if I,
glad you shared that with us because that just shows like, you
it's
know
real,
what? It's real.
real.
It's real. And and your platform is Team Be Real.
It's all about being real.
Be
And,
real. And I want to keep going and then I want
yeah.
to come back to that
And I
real.
tried to, like, every time I tried to stop saying that, my mind drifted. So like
Right.
literally a half an hour, like I repeated that nonstop. And
That's
then all of a
awesome.
sudden they're like throwing my water bottle. I'm like, oh, I made it to the next feed. And that's kind of an interesting thing. A lot, I've heard other swimmers talk about that as like, you just make it to the next feed. You just make it to the next feed.
Break it
So for
into
me, it's like
steps.
interval training when you're running or
Yeah.
cycling, right? Just make that interval, right? So for me, it's like, it's just a half an hour at a time. All I had to do was swim a half an hour at a time. And then you get to interact and you get to chat. And he's like, hey, I think that's when I realized I forgot my earplugs. And then they, throw the earplugs out. We'll find them. But you get these brief interactions every 30 minutes. So the next 30 minutes was a little happier. I didn't need my mantra anymore. And that's when we were starting to approach the bridge by this time. And the bridge is halfway. So we're starting to approach the bridge, and we had some cross currents. So there was a lot of navigating again, because the current was pushing me sideways, and so Mark kept trying to direct me. It was a little less stressful then than in the beginning, probably because I cleared my brain with my little mantra. And then at some point within that half an hour, Irina got in the water, and I knew that we were approaching the bridge, and I knew that that was halfway. So then I got like a little boost,
Yeah.
right? I was like, oh, we're almost
It's a
halfway.
lot of mental and psychological stuff going on. I mean,
Yep.
the training prepares you. but it's only half, it's only part of it. It's like it's
Yeah.
your mind. It's the
Well, and I love numbers and analytics. So
mhm.
I'm doing a lot of calculating in my head. Like I know like where the halfway point is. I know how long I've been swimming because the first feed was an hour, then it was a half an hour. So I'm calculating
Very
and
present.
keeping ahead. Like that's part of my concentration and
Hmm.
counting strokes and like anything you could like it's anything you can do to
Do you,
not think about how many more hours you have to swim.
do you have an idea of maybe how many strokes you did?
I probably could find out because the one of the things that the observer does is check your stroke rate. So I know I could calculate it. I was doing 60 strokes per minute almost the entire time, pretty much the entire time. I think all of her observations noted 60 strokes per minute, and there's 4 hours and 43 minutes. So we could calculate. That's a lot of strokes.
Thousands.
Yeah. So,
Thousands, Adina.
oh yeah, thousands and thousands for sure.
Thousands and thousands.
Thousands
Did
and
your
thousands.
shoulders bother you at all? I know
Once or
you're
twice.
strong, but
Yeah. Well, for me, if whenever your form deteriorates, if something starts to bother you, you check in with your form. And that's
okay.
I injured my left shoulder 25 years ago playing rugby,
Hmm.
and it's still every now and then if I'm not paying attention, that's where things break down. So I that's my weaker side. And so then I'll pay a lot of attention. If it starts to bug me, I was like, "Oh, check in with your stroke. Thumb coming
So,
up, pinky going in, get that elbow, the whole thing."
so Adina,
Yeah.
when you realized you were getting close,
That was the best part.
tell me
My
what then started to go on in your mind.
This was my absolute favorite part of the day. We were so about 2 miles out. I finally asked Kelly what time of day it was. And she was 10:30. She says, we got about 2 miles to go. And I did some quick math. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, that went fast. I was like, okay. And I knew that we had good conditions. I knew I wasn't going into the wind. So I knew all of
You,
these things. But
I
to
know,
hear
but you
the
still
time
swam
of
backstroke.
day,
You swam backstroke for 8 miles. It doesn't even
yeah,
matter. The
yeah,
conditions are perfect. Most of
yeah,
us will never swim backstroke across the
yeah,
Boston Harbor for eight
yeah.
miles. So
But it made a difference. It makes a difference in my mindset because the thing that made the other swim so hard was swimming into the wind.
yeah,
So
it gave you
I
confidence,
didn't
more
lose.
confidence.
It's much harder to swim
Yeah.
into the wind. So I didn't lose that energy swimming into the wind, but that we got there quicker than I anticipated because I'm used to swimming there's always a piece into the wind, and we did not have the wind. If anything, there was a slight tailwind. And so I was like, whoa, I'm like, that's pretty cool. And about, I don't know, a short while later, the time gets a little crazy in this part. Not too far later, we were about a mile away. And they're like, oh, well, we have to stop you. And this was the first time I was like, yeah, I'm kind of tired. Like I was just tired, a general tired. Nothing hurt. It wasn't my mind. I was just like, yeah, I'm getting a little tired, a little tired. 4 hours into the swim. And they Mark motioned to me and he's like, we have to stop. There's a big boat. We have to stop to let a ferry go by. And I was like, oh, good. I was like, because I was getting a little tired. And so they said, well, why don't we just give you your feed early? It's a little early, but let's do that. So, okay. So I'm waiting for them to throw out my feed. And as this is happening, the boat turned and the lighthouse was there. I could see it.
Oh, you could see it.
And it was not like a teeny little speck in the distance. It was like, there's the lighthouse. And I was like, holy shit, there it is. Like, oh, I still like, it's like, I likened it to Dorothy when she came out of the black and white into the color
Color.
Wizard of Oz, like, because the boat just shifted and they all knew where we were. They all knew they had seen the lighthouse a while back, and none of them made the connection that I couldn't see it because I was going backwards. So the
Wow.
boat shifted and it appeared as if out of nowhere. This giant, and I was like, we're so close. And then all of a sudden, I was not tired. I was just like, this
Energized.
is this is it. And then Irina's getting in the water because it's the last mile and she's gonna swim me in and help get me. I was like, and then I was like, holy crap, I did it. Like all of the realization, like it just all came together and the adrenaline surge and the excitement. And I was like, oh my God, let's go. Like, get the GoPro. We need them. I was like, I gotta take pictures when we get there. And Irina's like, I don't know what to do. I'm just bring it. You'll give it to me after I touch the rock. And that was like the best. And that mile, on one hand, I was like so excited to get there, and I just didn't want it to end.
Oh,
That was it. I was like, this is so exciting, but I just didn't want it to stop. It was such an amazing moment that it's so hard to describe. It's so hard to describe. And I was with people who I trust and who took such good care of me. And I knew that I had the chat, that I've been on those WhatsApp chats for other swims. So I was like, oh, and I'm going to get to go back and like read everybody's comments and see,
because it was real time. It's like as you're swimming, all these, we were all just,
yeah,
cheering you on. And, your swim, it's an incredible athletic feat, right? You're the first who's ever done it. We don't know if anybody will ever do it. So that's your place in history. But it
quite.
was being part of that group and feeling the love. I feel like your swim was, and like you said, just feeling the love from the water and the ocean and just seeing your husband, there and the love there and the magic. Like this was this was like you were spreading love. I know it sounds corny, but I just think that it's just a moment bigger than the athleticism that you trained hard for. You created so much love,
Well,
positivity
and
within the
and we have
community.
probably a really important time to mention that, I did the swim for me, but
Oh,
I also
right,
connected the swim to a
right.
fundraiser,
Yes.
and I raised $5,300 for adult learn to swim lessons. And that's one of the cool things about that chat. In that chat were um, marathon swimmers who are peers, marathon swimmers who have achieved more than I have, or different, we shouldn't say more, different things that
Different
I have.
waters, different. Mhm.
Right. Triathletes who I know, swimmers who I'm coaching, people who I'm teaching how to swim, friends who could care less about swimming. Like there was such a variety of people, and to hear the different comments and points of view and reactions was just so special. And it was really neat to bring those different kinds of people together, which is what Team Be Real is about, really embracing
Really is.
diversity.
You really put
Um,
into practice what you're all
yeah.
about.
And now that I've got $5,300 in scholarship money sitting ready for people to apply to, which I have to work with at the Old Colony Y in Stoughton, Mass. So now we have this great fund full of money that we can put together, and we'll build up a way for people to apply for those scholarships, and then I get to teach them how to swim. So it's more than just me doing a swim.
Right.
That is my own personal achievement. And it is, I don't know, maybe that's my 10 minutes of fame. I don't know, whatever. It doesn't even matter because it's my own personal achievement that I'm going to relive in my head probably a million times. But it's a message to everybody that your personal achievement is whatever you want it to be,
Hmm.
and you don't have to follow somebody else's achievement, and you don't have to compare to somebody else's achievement. And
Hmm.
it doesn't matter if you're 53 and if you weigh over 200 pounds and your pace is 240 per 100. Like, none of that matters. The only thing that matters is that I decided to do this for me. There was no big fanfare. I didn't get a medal. I didn't get a shirt. I didn't get, I got my own satisfaction, and I had got the opportunity to pay forward my love of swimming to everybody who gets to hear the story. And the person listening to the story, and to all of the people in your community who are listening to the story, it doesn't have to be swimming, right? It's an example, and you can make it whatever you want to make it. We don't have to all follow the same path. With this idea that there's this prescribed path, that people are like, oh, well, and people ask me all the time, you're going to do the English Channel now? No, like
You know,
that's somebody's path,
I'm not even gonna ask you that question. What's next?
right?
We're not gonna have that conversation.
Yeah,
I,
I
we're
mean,
gonna just,
I've got ideas.
I
Let's
know,
not
but we're not, we are just,
let's be real. I have ideas, but
no, we're
they're
just gonna,
my ideas. There's this. People think, oh, marathon swimming, you're gonna do this, and then you're gonna do the channel, and then you're gonna do
no,
this. Like that's not how I work.
I think you give yourself some time to just reflect and
Yeah.
everything that you learn and write about it. You know, you're a writer,
Mhm.
write about it. Start putting some, lessons out there to teach other people. All the moments, all those little nuances to it. Because you were
That's
out in the
all I am.
water,
Yeah.
you had your systems and so here's what
Yeah.
I want to ask and kind of wrapping up. Um, Team Be Real, the REAL stands for realistic, empowered, attainable, and lifestyle.
Mhm.
So I want to, if just don't give it too much thought. I just want you to tell me what you learned in the swim and how it relates back to being real, okay? So realistic.
It was so 8 miles with a current it's realistic. It was a challenge, but
Hmm.
that is a realistic challenge. Like I wasn't going to go do 20 miles of backstroke. Like 8 miles of backstroke with or without a current, as you mentioned, is hard. But it was a realistic challenge. It was something that I could train for in my capability of where I was at the moment, but still challenge myself.
That's good. Empowered.
Yeah, this one is all about being the underdog, and it's something I live every day. I hang out in a community of very accomplished open water swimmers, and I often have thought of myself as not as accomplished because I have not done those longer, more recognized swims. And with this swim, I empowered myself to do what was within my heart and the message that I want to give out. It is this swim is not for those people who are breaking world records, going the fastest English Channel or becoming a Triple Crown swimmer. It is for the underdog, the short, fat, slow, old, tall, skinny, speedy, like anything, but everybody who just feels like I'm not one of that, like you are. And it was for me to empower myself that I can feel that way for myself and have that voice for everybody else and still accomplish something that like literally is outrageous. And like people saying that I'm a legend, like the first person who said that to me, that one hit me like the heart. They're like, you are a legend. And I was like, well, by definition I am. And I empowered myself to accept that and be really proud of it instead of being like, no, it's no,
Yeah, you
it's a
worked
thing.
hard for that.
It's a thing, and
Worked hard for it.
it's for everybody who feel. I made my own path. You can empower yourself to make your own path.
Hmm. Attainable.
Attainable. So, um, I am a very methodical person, and I knew that if I could swim the 6 mile, the lap at Nantasket, then that was an indication that I could go for the Boston Light swim. It's something that I've heard over and over from other people in the community, like, oh well, if you can do the Nantasket lap, you can do the Boston Light Swim. And I didn't believe it until the day it happened, because that Nantasket lap was so hard. It was harder. The Nantasket lap was harder than the Boston Light Swim with the conditions that I was given. But that's how my brain worked. I said, if I can do that lap, then I can go for the swim.
Hmm. So much to learn from all this.
Mhm.
Lifestyle.
Yeah, a lifestyle is it didn't take over my world. It was very important to me. And it's something that I fit in. Like, I love to swim. I love exercise activity. Like, I lift weights. It is, and I didn't give up any of those other things. Like, along the way of my swim, I was like hitting PRs for deadlifts and squats. That I was just like, to me, it was just unbelievable, because it's part of my lifestyle. It's not like I didn't see my husband for 9 months. It's not like I didn't talk to my kids or see my friends. It's part of me. Granted, some of those friends, the visits were swims and things like that. But but I didn't lose any other part of me by doing this. It's part of my life. I love to swim, to enjoy swimming. And yeah, like, I certainly made sacrifices. You had to make sacrifices for everything.
Mhm.
But this was it didn't take over my life, which also kind of goes back to realistic too, but
Mhm.
they're all intertwined.
Hmm.
Thank you for asking that. That was really fun. I did not think of it that way. And that was a lot of fun to kind of relate it back. Thank you. That was a
You're
great question.
welcome. I had,
Yeah.
you always have kind of something up my sleeve a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. No,
But I
that
thought,
was
but I
great.
thought about it, team be real. It's so important to you. It's your business. It's your friends, your athletes. It's your world. And I thought, and each of those words you thought about when you created Team Be
Yeah.
Real, realistic, empowered, attainable lifestyle. And I wanted you to like for yourself, for
Yeah.
the gift for yourself to think about what the swim meant in terms of that. So that was fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Thank you. That was
here,
great.
I want to wrap up and I want to say to our listeners that on July 20th, it makes me emotional for you. July
Me
20th,
too.
July 20th, 2026. The guest on my show right here, Adina O'Neill. She swam the Boston Harbor backstroke, 8 miles, 8 miles. Okay. I go to the pool. I'm lucky if I can get to 2 miles, crawl going forward, right? She did it with no guides above her head. She did it not knowing what the conditions would be like that day. You didn't know. You showed up. You were fearless. I'm sure you had some fear, but you know what? You showed up. You showed courage.
Yes.
You
The
showed
point is
lead
not to be fearless. The point is to have courage to show up
courage.
when you're afraid, for
Yeah,
sure.
courage. You had leadership. You were prepared. All these things that set us up for, you were adaptable, right? All these things that set us up for success. And you you just you're an example for all of us on how to just go to live our best lives, to go after things that maybe we feel like after listening to Adina today, maybe she's inspired you like she's inspired me to go after things that you always dreamed about doing. You're gonna most likely have to put a lot of hard work into it.
Mhm.
Adina
Mhm.
didn't get there just by
No.
wishing or thinking about it.
No.
She put hours and hours and hours of hard work. So I want to congratulate you on it. I I want to give you the final word. Anything you want to share with our listeners? This is your moment. This was your moment in history, and I'm going to give you the final word before we sign off.
Well, before my final word, thank you, Sarah, for all those things you just said. I'm very touched. It sounds a lot. I lived in France for a few years, and it's always like we say, "ça me touche." Like, it has a different feel to it, but it is that I'm very touched and appreciate all those fine words. And I think if I'm going to leave one thing, because I've mentioned how people calling me a legend, I've mentioned that a few times this conversation, and I think what I want to say is that I may be a legend by some definition, but I'm just still a regular person. And you can be both. And you can be a legend. You can define what that legend means. Maybe that's within your own circle. Maybe you're going to have your own creative version of what legend you're going to be, which is kind of how what I did. But I just feel like I am just a regular person. And and it's a weird juxtaposition, but I think you can be a legend and a regular person at the same time. And that's, our tagline is ordinary people, extraordinary athletes. And that's really kind of what it comes down to. So keep your ordinary, keep your you and who you are, and find your extraordinary. Everybody has it.
There you go. Find your extraordinary. Love it. Let's have you back on after we're gonna meet in person. Actually,
Yeah,
I don't always
yeah,
get an opportunity to meet my guests in person. Dean and I are gonna meet in November at the
yeah.
Beyond
Beyond the
Breakers.
Breakers. Yeah,
Go ahead.
Beyond the Breakers Swim Conference
Mhm.
here in Waltham, Massachusetts. It is a day of everything open water swimming. I will be speaking about open water 101. So if you're like, how do I get in the ocean? That's what I'm going to be talking about. And there are going to be so many other wonderful speakers from crew to swim to support and they're having some clinics on the Sunday. So check out beyondthebreakers.com. Reach out to me. I can get you a discount code to get your ticket. And it's just a real fun day of swimmers loving swimming.
Well, I'm super excited to meet you. I'm super excited to go to the conference. And just real quick, would you do it all again?
I almost did. I tried to sign up to do the actual swim. So they on last this past Tuesday because they had some people cancel the last minute. So I was like, I'm trained up. That didn't take out as much as I thought it was. So I tried to get into the event, but they've never had a backstroker in the event, and we're
Okay.
not ready for those logistics. And we didn't have
They
enough
will
time to figure it out. And I said, okay, that's fair.
next
Let's go to the
year.
universe. So I don't know. I'm a big one and doneer.
Yeah.
So if I had to answer, I'd probably say probably not.
Okay.
I'll be on to a new adventure. I like that first time feeling, and
Yeah. That's a great answer.
nothing can compare to when that boat moved and there was like, and you know what? Maybe it can, but I don't want that memory to be altered. Like that was it.
I think that's a
So
great answer.
I'll probably look for something else.
Adina, it was so great to have you on the show. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations. And yeah, just keep shining bright. You're such a inspiration to so many people. And I think that this swim for years to come will inspire other people to just go
Be
after the
proud,
goal.
to just be proud, be
Yeah.
real, and keep moving forward or
Amen.
backwards.
Amen. All right.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, thank you so I'm the one that's like, thank you so much for coming on the show. Everybody, I hope that you are smiling like I am and just inspired. And this is why I absolutely love being the host of the PhD Journey Unplugged podcast. It's about the extraordinary individuals, their stories, and things that the way that they choose to live their lives and with passion and purpose and meaning. So thank you again, and we'll be back soon. All right, everybody. Bye.
Another feeding down, and now we're going past Rainsford Island, on our way to George's Island. Go, Adina!